Hey guys, welcome to the SimRacingPaddock. I'm William Marsh, and we are going back to rFactor 2. And we have a new build release. Also, we have a new mod update to test out. So first off, I wanted to do a quick touch on the new update for rFactor 2. It isn't anything too exciting. There's no new car or new track right now, but it is performance improvements. And usually that comes with a grain of salt, but I have tested so far and it is legit. I am seeing major performance improvements. So this is build release 1110. Before, we saw 1109 as the update for the longest time, but now we're finally at an even number, but it is performance improvements. So they're saying that they are taking their time to get it right with the DirectX 11 API. So recently they upgraded to DirectX 11, and that was around the early 1100s builds. So now we have a significant performance upgrade, which they're saying is really taking advantage of your GPU and CPU to have more optimization, which was one of my major complaints for rFactor 2. So opt out of any, to get this, you need to opt out of any beta versions you are using. So they are out of the DirectX 11 beta now. So this is the most current version. So don't be on any current beta. This is the new latest version available to the public. And then now they're taking advantage of multiple threaded graphics, which is good, and also modern CPUs for rendering. Before, you were getting high CPU and GPU usage, but you weren't getting solid frame rates in return for that. So now it looks like that is better. Now there's optimizations, and it sounds like they've improved their lighting systems as well, and also the way Railroad is rendered and calculated. So they're more efficient from CPU and GPU. So that's a big thing. And it's okay. So it sounds like they haven't had any claims in terms of improvements, but that's kind of understandable because it sounds like these upgrades would be dependent on your system. So I'm driving with a beefy system. I have a 1080 and a Ryzen 7 1800X CPU. So I think it should be solid. Also, if you look here, there is a new user kind of UI and heads up display for driving right now. So the new UI is not here yet, but we do have this new HUD. So penalties are right under here. We finally have a delta bar similar to iRacing, which is very nice. Finally, about time. Position in lap counter on the top as opposed to the bottom now. And this I'm a little mixed on. The tachometer and the speedometer and timing is in the middle. I'll get to that later, but I'm not a big fan of that. And then also we have some info here. So this is the new chat box, like the message log. And then here we have the LCD mode, they call it, or the LCD display, simulating like the Motec. So this would have lap time, tires, damage layout, and yeah, so we have that at least. And then let's see. So change the way opponent volume works. If you set them to 100 and pass, they are way too loud. Turn them down, they will not be as loud. So, okay, so now they're tweaking sound and stuff, so that's nice. Inputs. Change the way in which we combine primary and alternate inputs for the throttle, brake, and steering. So one of the features in rFactor 2 that I really, really like is you can have two controls for, say, steering, pedals, and shifters, most importantly, in my opinion. So on this system, right now, I have my rim, which has paddle shifters, and also I have my Heusinkveld shifter. So theoretically, say in Assetto Corsa, I have, if I jump from a car, say that uses paddle shifters, to say one that uses a stick, you have to go back into the menu and recalibrate your shifter control. In rFactor 2, you have the option to set an alt command, or not alt command, but alternative. So you can have two shifters mapped at the same time for the same command. So you can have it where you don't have to remap the shifter jumping from car to car. So it sounds like they've optimized that a little bit better, which is nice. And then when using keyboard rates for analog, typically used with game controllers, apply a lot of smoothing, which initially results in a fast response, but eventually responds very slowly, making car hard to control. So, okay, it sounds like they've made changes for keyboard controls. So theoretically, it's saying rFactor 2 is now easier to use with a keyboard. Oh boy. Let the flame wars begin. And then they've optimized the development corner. So the dev mode, it sounds like they've made some solid changes for that. And I've seen a lot of people say it's about flipping time. So maybe this will help bring more modders in. Who knows? And then some bug fixes. So I'm just going to gloss over that. And if you want to take a look at that yourself, you can pause the stream or something. But yeah, so this was one of the big things from Studio 397. The next thing we have is from EnduRacers, who made the Endurance Series rFactor 2 mod. So, Bloodwolf, you can look up my Steam info in the description for the stream. But yes, you can. So, Endurance Series rFactor 2 Build 2.0 released. So, for this, we have 5 new cars, including 3 new GTEs. So that'll be exciting if you like GTE racing. So we have the new cars and also a complete graphic update, including all the rain features, animated windscreen wiper, blurred rims, improved shaders. So it should, in theory, look a lot better. So we have the Orica 05 LMP2 added to the LMP2 category. Looks like it's replacing the Lola Coupe, or Coupe for those across the pond. We have the Ligier, I believe that's how you pronounce it, or Ligier, JSP3 LMP3. So that is there. The Corvette C7R GTE, Ferrari 458 GTE, and the Flat 6 RSR Evo GTE. So this is the Porsche RSR. I don't know if it's the latest one, but it's one of the RSR GTEs. So that should be a decent addition. And then bodywork shaders to DX11 technology, cockpit steering wheel, rain rendering, that is a big one. So that's nice to see. And then the CPM2 tires, that is big. So that is a nice addition. I think the new contact patch model tires, they are really good feeling. And then here's a biggie, inertia adjusted. That you might slick over, but that is a huge improvement because that is sort of simulating the feeling of the cars. And for the initial Endurance Series mod, it really felt kind of off. It felt a little off. But now, when we got to test out the Flat 6 mod that was improved with the inertia, those cars felt a lot better and made us really excited for the next release in the Endurance Series, which is finally here, so we'll be able to test that out as well. And then steering ratio adjusted, done like Studio 397 cars. That's nice, but one thing that is concerning it, it's one of my complaints with SimuCube right now, is SimuCube doesn't automatically adjust degrees of rotation. So for each car, we're going to have to manually adjust degrees of rotation. No big deal, but we'll make sure to do that. So, and then like for Flat 6 GT3, Real car didn't have auto blip. In the mod, it did. They addressed that, which is nice. So I think this is enough of just talking about it. Let's actually jump into it. And let's get this party started. And just going to take a sip. Full House, I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself? But yeah, one of the things that is still a bit of a pain is load times are still a bit of a pain. So let's start off with the C7R GTE. I was testing this out earlier and I think would be a lot of fun. But first off, I wanted to check something real quick. So controls. One thing I would love to see Studio 397 address in an update is they always have the car specific force feedback multiplier. They don't have a universal force feedback multiplier. So with the way I set up the SimuCube, it's 100% in SimuCube software, and every car defaults to 1.0 in the car specific force feedback multiplier. I would have loved in the main menu, in the main options, I would have loved to see a global force feedback multiplier. And then under that, maybe if you wanted to select car specific, I would have loved to see that option. Because once I jump into another car, or it would automatically jump back to 1.0. So for every car, I would have to adjust the force feedback. I would have preferred an option to have a global force feedback and then the option to adjust per car. Just my thoughts. So I might try to talk to Marcel and pitch that idea to him. I think it would be a smart idea. But let's fire up. Mid-Ohio is one of my favorite tracks in rFactor 2. It is a third-party track from Virtua LM, and it is a port from the original rFactor, but it's really well done. And it's a great track. If you haven't driven it, I highly recommend it. Elevation changes, blind corners, tricky layout. Reminds me a bit of Sonoma, too. Hold on a sec. Let me fire something up. Come on, work with me here. I had display capture on. All right, there we go. Okay, we're good. But for best frame rate, we get the setup. So, I was mentioning the UI, how I'm not the big fan of the tack and timing. Can you see why? I think it's pretty obvious. So for the older rFactor 2 user interface and HUD, the tack was a little offset. So the offset was a little like to the side. And then this, they decided symmetry would be good. And I don't think so. Because it's partly that semi-opacity there. Sure, you can see through it, but it makes it into a bit of a mess. It makes it into where that speed is going to blend into that lap counter and the position. Excuse me, sorry about that. So that's why I'm not a big fan of it. Are there good sound mods? Well, you might hear, you might not really need it for this car. But this is one of my favorite GTE cars, because America. But this sound is pretty well done. But it's a very good handling car. I think it is a great GTE car. But also, so many of the GTE cars are freaking awesome. I even like the look of that new Ford GTE. EnduRacers or Studio 397, please put that car in rFactor 2. We only have that in iRacing and not instead of Corsa yet, but I would love to see it in rFactor 2, especially in endurance races. And then we would have the Ford versus Chevy battle. I'm doing pretty well, testing out this mod. Big fan. Really nice feeling so far. But yeah, let's talk about the feeling of this. So obviously this car wasn't in the previous build. So the previous build of rFactor 2 didn't have this car, and the physics felt off in my opinion. But for this, it feels a lot more believable. It feels a lot better in my opinion. Where the slides feel more realistic. The slides in the older release of the mod didn't feel the best in my opinion. But I think, so, yeah, the tires feel great, but I think it's the inertia adjustments that really bring these cars to life and make it feel so much better. I get a lot better feeling driving off the corner, feeling the rear end step out just that little bit that you want, and driving out of the corner. So I think Full House, one thing they are going to be doing is, I'm hoping they allow you to adjust the UI modules. I really hope they do. But also there's different UI mods that you can have. So I think you can change it around. So yeah, you can see the way the car steps out a little bit better, and it's very enjoyable. So another interesting thing I want to point out is the delta bar. You see it jumped out to 9.999 seconds right there, and it's interesting because I've noticed that happens every time on the second timed lap. So it seems like it almost takes 3 laps for the for that timer to kick in, which is kind of unusual. So once we cross the line, that delta bar will work all right. I just totally overshot that corner, but was able to catch that slide all right. And yeah, so once we cross the finish line again, we'll see that delta bar work. But yeah, so the UI, it's interesting because I don't like that center placement for that tachometer, speedometer, and timing. But if I turn that off, it turns off the stuff on the top, which I'd like to have there still. I would like to still have that stuff on the top. It's kind of disappointing. So I would love to see Studio 397 make those adjustments. I would love to see an option where maybe similar to when you press the 3 button on this. So, or is it 3, I think? Maybe not. Or it used to be 3, I think. When you would adjust the mirrors, you could have multiple button presses. Yeah, so you press 3. One time, it turns off the side mirrors. Then you can turn off the center. And then turn them all off. Or turn them all back on. So there's different varies of how you can set up the monitors. Or not the monitors. Set up the mirrors. So you have that. I would love to see that option for this HUD. So you press once and it would bring up all of it. Then press again, it would turn off the tach and speedometer, but keep the top stuff. So I think that that would be something to really put in consideration for Studio 397. BCJM. I have a video comparing the CSL Elite to the TGT. It would be, my conclusion would be somewhat similar to that, where I think the CSL Elite wheelbase is a better fit for most people than the TSPC. It has a better modular ecosystem. It has more features as well. So think about it, the rim has the quick settings, it has the LCD display, it has rev lights. Those are features that the CSL Elite offers, but the TSPC doesn't. But yeah, interesting. I turned the HUD back on and that reset. So I'll cross the finish line here and we should... Oh, whoa! That was... Clipped the grass there and that shot me off. But yeah, so should go back to the start finish line and have that Delta timer turn back on. Hopefully they optimize that Delta timer, because Delta timer is a great addition. I love the idea of the Delta timer, but it still seems kind of rough. So now it's working, okay. But, okay, now, or wait, no, it stopped working. Maybe it's because this is a third-party track. Maybe. So maybe this track isn't optimized for the lap timing or something. So, okay, something I want to talk about that I haven't talked about, and that's exactly why I want to talk about it, is the performance. I have not seen a single hiccup performance-wise while driving. I haven't seen any. That is remarkable for rFactor 2. This feels buttery smooth. It is insane. Well, BCGAM, for that price difference, I think I might recommend the TSPC then. Because, yeah, Canada, it seems like it's horrible shipping-wise. But yeah, this performance, this is the best I have ever felt rFactor 2 perform. Ever. And this is amazing. I'm kind of blown away by it. Yeah, BCGAM, the only thing I'd say you might not really like is the, what is it? The pedals. I think the pedals will leave you wanting more. So the TSPC Racer, also keep in mind, actually no, the TSPC Racer doesn't come with pedals. So you could buy different set pedals. Eros, I'm about to jump out of this car, but I will show you the replay. So that's how I can show you outside sounds. So let's jump out of this car and get it going. For this sound, I'm not a fan of this car's outside sound. Sounds very digitized. Doesn't sound close to a real car. Other cars sound better. Other cars in this mod sound a lot better. It sounds like this almost used stock ISI sounds for some reason, and it's almost painful sounding. So for this specific car, I'm not a fan of the sounds. Other ones, I'm a better fan of the outside sounds for, which I will show you. We'll jump into another GTE car next, so we will do this. But yeah, you can hear that the sounds for this are just a little off. So let's jump into another car. So we just drove the Corvette C7R. The V8 Vantage, that is not a new one. You can tell because it's 09, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15. Or it's 16. Not sure. But it wasn't listed as one of the new ones. So C7R Stingray. And let's go to the 458 Italia. I have not driven this one yet. So AF Corsa. That It's one of the most known. So you can see it has all the liveries from 2013, 2014, 15, 16. A lot of mods. Or not mods, but a lot of liveries. And they look pretty awesome if you ask me myself. And it's also Le Mans, European Le Mans Series, and WEC. That's pretty remarkable. So look at the quality in that livery. Let's jump to a different track now. Let's see. Let's try Sebring here. Sebring, another virtual LM track, but freaking love those. But yeah, they did such a good job in the models for this. They really did. But yeah, I will point out that that complaint I had earlier regarding the force feedback in a second. Just have to wait. But yeah, I am really pleased by this mod so far. I really am. They did a great job with it. And then for the next, I'm going to test drive the next car in the rain, actually. So, let's take a look. So you see, car-specific force feedback multiplier, 1.0. We got to turn it down to about, I'll turn it up to 30% because that should be right. 612 degrees of rotation, same as previous cars, so should be 1-to-1. Yes, it is. For this, I'm so torn because I want to turn off that part of the HUD, but keep the lap timer for you guys. And then you can see on the bottom. Actually, let me change something real quick. There we go. So on the bottom right, you can see the adjustments in the HUD for that. So you can see the clock, time, weather forecast. Ooh, this sounds good, guys. This sounds good. This might be one of the best sounding Ferraris in sim racing. I mean, Ferrari GTE, GT3 race cars. I should phrase it like that. But yeah, here it's largely unchanged. I would like to see them be able to change that car image, because that's like from the original rFactor. But yeah, this car feels a little livelier than the Corvette. This is a mid-engine car, so it does have that different feel. It's a good feeling. Let's do a quick thing real quick. So you can tell this sounds so much better. This does sound so much better. So the exterior sounds of this car are so much better than the than that Corvette So I don't know what the heck happened with that Corvette sound samples, but this just sounds so much better from the outside. And this car feels great too. So now we're going into turn 17. Feel the car bouncing a bit. There we go. Don't go too crazy. Got a little upset there, but we caught that. Sebring is one of my favorite American tracks. Even though it has no elevation change really, it is a great track, has a great variety of corners. Sonoma's still my personal favorite though. Sonoma just, in my opinion, has everything in a very solid, compact package. It has the sweeper, it has the banked corner, it has the S's, it has 2 tight hairpins in the IndyCar or long configuration. It has a chicane. It has almost everything you want from a track, maybe apart from a very long straight, but still, it's a great track. Yeah, CB, I wonder if that's partially the reason they went with the 458 GTE instead of 488 GTE. Because this sounds really good in my opinion. And yeah, this is a fun feeling car. So if you have rFactor 2, you gotta try out this mod. It has such a great variety of content. Also, it's free. And this is one of those mods where it's like, you want to donate to them because of such great work. Because also consider, the first release was all cars that were ported from the original rFactor, which is a big thing, but not really like creating scratch-made stuff. This is scratch now. This is a scratch-made car at a high level of quality. And then they overhauled a lot of the cars they ported over to that level of quality that they needed. So we have that 9.99 second glitch again with the Delta, unfortunately. That's a little upsetting. Maybe once we go to an official track, it'll work better. But yeah, this car is so much fun right now. It's relatively easy to drive though, which is good. I can imagine it being nice for people, because GTE, GT3, those are meant to be accessible. Those are meant to be for like fun racing, good close racing. And then it'll be interesting once we jump up into the LMP2 and LMP3 though. But yeah, default setup feels good. You can see me being able to ride the racing line well, ride it out of the corner. Enzo's a great sounding car. Yes, I will wholeheartedly agree with that. If you like car sounds, and I mean, who doesn't? Go check out the YouTube channel. I think it's 19 Bozzy, Bozzy 92. He has some incredible car sound videos. And they're at tracks like Monza, Imola, I forget the others, but he has a lot of awesome car sounding videos. But yeah, okay. So right there, Delta's working now. Okay. Will this work the entire lap? We'll find out. I hear the backfires too behind me. But now the delta's working, so you can see it. So when you're logging a faster lap, it will show on the left, and then slower will show on the right, which is like the opposite of half of all the other different sims. Because I think iRacing, if you're to the good, it's to the right. So I would have liked to see them do that as well. I sort of meet the status quo for this element, but it's not the end of the world. It might throw off some people, though, initially. But, whoa! Okay, a little wide there. We're going to lose a few tenths, I think. Yeah, you can see this car is accessible. It's fun. And here's a question I just thought up of. I wonder how this is going to match up with Studio 397's GTE cars. Because the new GTE cars are going to come out are Studio 397. But also note, they're releasing a C7R and then 2 more cars that are yet to be named in that upcoming pack. So we're going to have one redundant car, but I think that's going to be 2017, 2018 spec. And then what are the other cars going to be? Maybe they'll have a Ford GTE. That would be nice. The Ford GTE would be an awesome addition, and if they can get the balance of power sorted all right, I could see it being a solid addition. So for endurance races, we would have a very solid selection of GTE cars. Ow. So let's listen to the sound a bit. Wow. Okay. That sounds good. You can hear that scream of the V8 at the higher revs. And I've heard this car, or a car similar to this. I think I heard it was the GT3 or GT4 Ferrari. And it sounded pretty close to this, I think. Hear that sort of, I'm not sure if I'd call it rattling, but the warbling going down. Does rFactor 2 have Group 5 cars? I think there is a mod. It's like the Toyota Celica GTO. I don't know beyond that. There might be like a pirated conversion of the DRM Revival, but nothing that I know of officially. But I do not endorse piracy, so that's one reason I've never really checked those back channels. Maybe DRM Revival will make an rFactor 2 version. Who knows? Oh man, that just sounds so freaking good. Now we're going to go to the RSR. And one guy said in the comments earlier that it's the older model. So it's not the new RSR. So it's 2013, 14, 15, 16. So yeah, it's not the newer one, but should be good sounding. And for this, I'm going to take this to an official track. So we will take it to Silverstone. How about? And for this one, I want to set it to rain and see how it is there. Or wait, no, I had to do it in practice. My bad. And we'll do it at 7:30 p.m. Raining. And private practice. This should be good. Need to get a drink real quick while we load. So if this is the older RSR, does that mean that it's the rear engine RSR and not the mid-engine RSR? Because if it's the rear engine RSR, that means this should be a very lively car. Just thinking. But yeah, I am pleased with how this car or how these cars are working now. They are really nice. And I test drove this at Mid Ohio, this car. So hopefully this feels just as good at Silverstone too. Wait, it's supposed to be raining. Okay, so car specific force feedback multiplier is at 1 again. So we gotta turn it down. We'll turn it up to 30. Hold on. But look at the changes in the lighting here. The lighting looks so much better right now. I want to try something though. So, I'm going to stop right here. If I remember correctly, and turn off the engine. If I remember correctly, it's Alt-I. Or no, that's AI, my bad. Let's see. What button is it to speed up the time? Control X, okay. Sean, so what you do is you need to go into the display calibration in the launcher. And then there is a section in there on the bottom right. It should say HMD. And so you go there and... Oh, thank you, Sulphonic Penguin, for subscribing. So you go there and you select HMD or HMD plus monitor. So HMD plus monitor, that would be to change it where... or what is it? Or you change it to where it shows the display, but also at the same time you get it rendered on the monitor. So if friends are watching or something like that, or you can just have it set to like VR mode. Hold on, let's check this again. So raining, yes. Rain chance, 95. 95. Let's put the odds in our favor. But yeah, Sean, that's how you should set it for VR. And note that VR isn't perfect yet. So the VR is still in beta. It's also using the Steam VR interface. So if you're familiar with Steam VR games, you'd be familiar with how that works in rFactor 2. So let's see how this works. Come on. Hopefully, as they improve the user interface and stuff, they'll improve the load times. Because realistically, one of the issues that was with rFactor 2 in the ISI days is that it really had a lot of antiquated code that was not being used. It was very bloated software-wise. So you could find some code tracing back all the way to, say, the sports car GT days. And it's like, really? they're not going to optimize that. So now we have them working on more optimization and streamlining the software. So that's one of the reasons it's taken them so long to really make those improvements. And that's why I'm willing to give them benefit of the doubt for why it's taken them a year to improve the UI. But hopefully, as time goes on, it'll work better and better. But now we got the rain. And I admit the rain doesn't look the best. I'll admit that. But hey, at least we have it now. Maybe someday it'll look like that tech demo from 2010 or 2012 or something like that. But yeah, as we're driving, we'll also notice puddles, I think. Just realized I don't have headlights on, I don't think, so let me check. I need to map a setting for headlights, I think. So let's do that real quick. Headlights and wipers, why not? There's headlights, there we go. And you can actually see it illuminated kind of during the day. In the ISI days, you never got that. So it's a yellow headlights, like a lot of GTE cars. Okay, let's do an experiment. Turn off the wipers, and let's watch the water build up. So you can see the water build up. It's not moving around to like the extent of Project Cars 2 or Forza, but it is moving a bit. And this is early implementation for the wet weather, so let's hope that they improve it. This latest update was mainly for software updates, but our performance improvements, so hopefully we get more of the visual improvements as time goes on. But once the track really gets wetter, it does look a lot better. And I did not mean for that to rhyme. But it's interesting though, because I think the wipers have 2 speeds in this. So this is slow speed, and then fast speed. Then you can see the rooster trail behind us. That is slick. I don't know if this has hydroplaning, or aquaplaning as some people would call it as well. But, yeah, so I want to wait also for the track. So we're going to log a few laps, let the rain accumulate on the track, and we should see puddles form. I don't know where exactly they form at Silverstone, but I believe puddles are currently somewhat dynamic. But one of the things that's kind of irritating is that off the bat, you don't have puddles when you start off this session, I think. Like when any session starts up, you don't have the puddles. You have to wait for them to form up. It would be nice to have the option to jump into a session with puddles already there. I know I'm getting nitpicky, but hey, when I like a sim this much, I think I have permission to nitpick. And force feedback compared to Project Cars 2, this is better in my opinion. It is a little more harsh in some situations, and to make the most out of it, you do have to edit INI files, which might be overwhelming for some people, but if you're willing to adjust the INI files and learn about it, you can bring the force feedback to life. But for example, with this direct drive wheel, with the SimuCube, there was a weird glitch though, where it's called the jolt magnitude. So you hit a wall hard, and then the steering would lock in a direction. So you'd hit a wall like this, and it would just lock all the way to the left or all the way to the right. And then you'd have to hit another wall to unlock the wheel. It's a weird glitch that not only happened in rFactor 2, but Automobilista and Race Room. So you have to adjust those settings, and it's a glitch in the ISI motor software apparently, or it's SimuCube, or both. But it's interesting because with that, you really had to jump into the INI file to actually make the title work. But once you did, it's very rewarding. So, okay, if you're noticing now, the track has more water on it, and you're seeing the reflections. Those are really, like, you're seeing it now. So you're seeing the track start to get a little more lost. And it is getting to a point where it is more dynamic. But Full House, the telling sign is it was happening when invulnerability was on. It was happening when invulnerability, so when there was no damage to the car. That was the problem. So it's something with the steering input and force feedback. So I want to check something real quick. So we're going to get out of the our camera out of the car right now. So you can see the texture of the track. Still nothing really with the pedals. Sean, unfortunately, I have never tested MMOS. Because I have, it's this Syncos encoder. I've never actually been able to drive with MMOS because the Syncos encoder is not compatible with MMOS. Here's something cool though. Look here, dry spot under the bridge. But yeah, so let's listen to the outside sounds a bit. Hold on. I'm gonna turn it up a bit. There we go. So hopefully you can hear the sound here. Oh, lock up. Track's really getting wet. It's very tame sounding right now, but still, it's a good sound. Okay, I'm gonna do kind of a kamikaze experiment, suicidal, where let's go to find where can we adjust the tires. Tire compound, okay. Oh, we weren't even on wet tires. Huh, interesting. We weren't even on wets. We were on, I guess, semi-slicks? So now we're on wets. Yeah, Just Gaming. New HUD is nice, but there are a few gripes I have with it. As I've been mentioning, I'm not a fan of the way that the center HUD element is here. I'm not a fan of that. Because with the semi-opacity, with the numbers conflicting with the actual dash, it makes it look kind of clustered. And a bit of a mess. So we were accidentally driving with slick, so let's see if this car feels a little better on wets. But also now you can see the track is a lot more like saturated with water. But we're not breaking free of traction as easy when I'm on the throttle. So mash the throttle. It's displacing the water better. I am so glad they got rid of that bloom. So, I gotta admit, the wet weather looks so much better now than it did in the past. It's not perfect though. It is not perfect. There are things that need to be improved. But it looks so much better. Whoop. Starting to see some puddles. Some puddles. So, took about 15 minutes to see puddles. A little while for the track to get saturated, but hey, not bad. Which, Blood Wolf, that's a tricky question. I might have to go with Honda. But also, I haven't tested enough of it to really reach a verdict. But yeah, I didn't really feel any hydroplaning right there, but so we got some puddles now. Let's go slowly real quick. Alright. Let's do this. Oh, they don't have that hood cam. Okay, there we go. There we go, that's a good camera angle, I guess. A little off center, but you can see the puddles now. The reflections on the puddles aren't as good as the track reflections, so go figure. But yeah, the track is really getting into an intense state. I think hydroplaning, the feeling of that is planned for a future update for the rain weather. But yeah, you can really see the track is getting pretty saturated. Whoop. Yeah, Sean, I've been talking with those guys, and they said they want to send me the next generation of the seat thing to review in the near future. So I'm excited to test that out. Interesting. Off track, you can see heavy puddle, and I'm in the wall. But yeah, you can see the puddles really gathering up there. Hey, Funny, how's it going? But yeah, this is looking pretty good, guys. Imagine this in VR too. VR, once they really get the wet weather refined, because yeah, if you stop, you can see rain hit the puddles. Okay. Let's see. Where's a good puddle? We're puddle hunting, guys. Yep, you can see rain hitting the puddles right there. At the right angle. Yep. Nice touch. Let's try something. So Never mind, the time acceleration isn't working. But yeah, rain looks a lot better now than it used to. So, look at the detail in this car model, though. So, hold on. So just looking at this car model, there's so much detail in it. The liveries aren't the highest resolution, but looking at the rain hitting the windows in the windshield, turn off the wiper and you see the drops puddle up and drop. You see the escape hatch on the top. The lights. Interesting enough, there are no position lights. That's interesting. I wonder if that's a limitation or something. But the lights. Interesting though, here you don't see them, and then you do there. But yeah, you see the yellow headlights and the yellow tint, so. Hold on. Interesting, so the top lights stay on. The bottom lights turn on and off. Wonder if that's realistic. More you know. So now we are going to jump into the LMP cars. We're going to jump into some of the Le Mans prototypes. So we just tested out all of the new GTEs. Which ones are the actual... I gotta check real quick. So real quick, I'm just checking out what the new cars are. So the Orica 05, the Ligier JSP3. So the 05, so that's just the Nissan. Okay. So let's check out these liveries. A lot of nice ones. Looks like they put good effort into it. I like this one personally, the Thierry, if that's how you pronounce it. And let's take a look, and where should we go? So many tracks. Le Mans can be an option. Le Mans might be a little boring, though. Let's test out Zandvoort. I don't really know this track too well, personally, but should be fun to try out. I always seem to struggle a bit at it, though. Maybe next car I'll take to Le Mans. Todd, Hong Kong is the that is for the Formula E series, which that would be insanity to take a prototype there. But yeah, Zandvoort, this is the track that they currently are in development for. I believe this is one of the first laser scanned circuits that Studio 397 is doing. I'm about 70% sure it's laser scanned. And then also they are currently in progress on making a laser scanned version of Sebring, which I'm really excited for. And thanks, Sean. So again, we have to go to settings, turn the car specific force feedback to about, this is stronger, so I'm going to turn it to 27%. But also notice, now, the degrees of rotation isn't 1-to-1. That is because the prototypes use a smaller steering wheel range. So what we have to do now is go to SimuCube. And then change degrees of rotation to 403. So we've changed that to 403. And save settings in SimuCube. Todd, Sebring is an excellent track. Very tricky. So Zandvoort 100% laser scan. Awesome. So now you see 1-to-1. So 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and then the 200 or so. Interesting how they picked 403 degrees, though. Didn't go with an even 400. So we'll take a lap or two just without any HUD elements and appreciate it. Because, God, admit, this looks pretty remarkable. Especially for this being version 0.2. Consider that. This is version 0.2 of a track. But Zandvoort is such a complex track, though. So many corners are strangely off camber. So here, you're turning, but just the camber of it is so unusual. Then here, you turn in. I didn't set myself up properly for that corner. Then here, it's like, where's the actual point? Yeah, this is also an Assetto Corsa. It's interesting, though, because it's Zandvoort, I believe, was the first official track in Assetto Corsa to not be laser scanned. So one of the big marketing pushes for Assetto Corsa was every track is laser scanned. And then Assetto Corsa, or then Zandvoort comes along, and it was initially a third-party mod, but the guys at Kunos decided, okay, we're gonna work together and make it official content and get it out to as many people as possible. So they did, but it was sort of the compromise where it's not a laser scan circuit, but it's still remarkably accurate, because you can have remarkably accurate tracks, just not laser scanned. You can use CAD data. You can get the data from the official track companies. So you can do things like that and still have it built very accurate. Dave, this is laser scan, so this is a laser scan Zandvoort, and I overcooked the corner. As mentioned, I am not that great at this track. But, random thought, sound for this car is pretty darn good for what I'm assuming is a 4-cylinder. I like the sound of this prototype. But another interesting thought. In the rFactor 2 pack that's coming up soon, I believe there's also going to be an LMP2. Will they match up in balance of power wise? Yeah, Zandvoort was one of the earlier tracks, I believe, in iRacing, so it's not used as much, unfortunately. It's sort of similar to like how Sonoma isn't used too much in racing or in iRacing, which is pretty darn shame in my opinion. I mean, it is used, just not as much as I personally would like. My line is all over the place. I just don't know this track well. I'll have to spend some time learning this track, though, because this track is a lot of fun. Elevation changes. It has blind corners. It has weird cambered corners, which makes things tricky. But the force feedback for this is heavy. It really is heavy force feedback. And I think one of my theories in it is these cars wouldn't have as much power steering as, say, like the GTE. So the wiper is stuck in the up position. You can't really set it down, I think. So, wait, accidentally pressed the ignition button. So, yeah, if it's off, it stays up. But if you press the wiper, it goes like that. So, it's real life, the wiper's like that. So, in the sim, it's like that. But yeah, one thing you'll notice when driving this car, especially with a direct drive wheel, the bumps for this are almost painful because the suspension, the way it's set up and everything. But realistic, I guess it is realistic. So you want to avoid the bumps in this car, or especially the high curbs. But I think we'll have one more car to test after this. So we will do that, and then I think I'll wrap up the stream. But so many fun cars to drive. This is one of my favorite mods for rFactor 2 now. I mean, it kind of was before, but some of the weird parts of the physics left me wanting more. But now this feels really good. Okay, so we'll listen to the outside sounds a little bit. They did a great job in the sounds in this car too, and the backfires. John, do you mean car setup? So, I'd say one of the first things you want to do is set up the gears. Set up the gears so that at the end of the longest straight, you're just about bumping on that rev limiter at top gear. So, with the way you are looking at the setup, you want to be able to accelerate to the fastest speed possible. And then also figure out the aerodynamics. So, for example, with Le Mans, you really need to have a flat wing. For tighter, more technical tracks like Zandvoort, you're going to want more downforce. So setting up for the track. And then maybe ride height. That's another big one. Make sure the car is not bottoming out. How would my championship look like track and class if I would make one? I'd say... Or what do you mean, what tracks would I pick for rFactor 2? But for cars, I would likely do GTE. GTE would be a great variety. Different people picking different cars to suit their driving style. And then also importantly, you would have just that variety that makes things interesting. So now we're going with the Ligia JS P3. Again, a lot of different liveries. And it's interesting. This looks like such a cute little mini LMP car. It looks kind of smushed up in a good way. So we'll go with that. And then let's see. So I'm gonna rag on rFactor 2 a bit right now. Mini rant right now. This track selection. So I have a lot of third-party tracks and third-party affiliate tracks, but Studio 397 cannot rely on that. They can't. So, for example, I think Atlanta Motorsports Park, that's an official one. Most people have never heard of that. It's interesting. Looks a little like Zandvoort, to be honest, but not many people are going to consistently race on that. And then Bathurst, that's a good one, but it's third-party affiliate. It's not official. Belgium, Spa, great choice, but only limited to 1966 version. That's no. Brianza, same thing. Monza, you only have the classic version. That's frustrating. Props for Silverstone, and then props for Lime Rock Park, and getting Sebring. That's a great selection. But the problem comes up with how many official first-party tracks are you going to want to drive? Are you going to want to consistently drive Atlanta Motorsports Park? Are you going to want to drive a lot of NOLA Motorsports Park or Mountain Peak Speedway, aka not Charlotte Motor Speedway? Are you going to want to drive like Sardian Heights or Palm Beach International Raceway? No. You're wanting to race tracks like the Nürburgring Nordschleife. You're wanting to race tracks like Le Mans. You're wanting to race tracks like Spa, Imola, Monza. You're wanting to race tracks like that. And that is, I think, one part where rFactor 2 really does struggle. The selection of first-party content. So if I pared this down to just first-party content, it would look kind of pathetic, to be honest. And it just wouldn't really be an appealing selection of tracks. But hopefully someday they will get that budget for being able to license bigger circuits. They do have they now have the funding of Luminous Solutions behind them. So will that pay off? Will that be a solid solution? Hopefully it will, because I love rFactor 2. It's my favorite sim racing title, but I do have to give it flack where flack is due. There are things that really, really I put it behind the 8 ball compared to other titles. Look at Project Cars 2, look at Assetto Corsa, look at iRacing, look at Race Room. Race Room Racing Experience has a laser scan Nordschleife. rFactor 2, the most technically advanced sim racing title, doesn't. And then, with this LMP and GTE pack, that would be the perfect time to get a modern laser scan Le Mans in. That would put it above Assetto Corsa, put it above Race Room, put it, even in my opinion, above Project Cars 2, because I think that the way endurance racing is handled in rFactor 2 is better. But we'll see how that goes. We'll see how it is. And yeah, Studio 397 doing great things. They just really need to step it up too. And also with the UI, but that's another thing. So let's go to Montreal. That should be a fun test. Road America do like a 12-hour race. Isn't Road America where they do Petit Le Mans, or is that Road Atlanta? It's one of the road tracks, I know. But yeah, so let's test out this LMP3 car and have some fun. So this LMP car, I believe, has the same 403 degrees of rotation. We will check and see where it goes from there. But yeah, so majority of the mods for rFactor you do get from the Steam Workshop now. I know that there are tracks that you can get from elsewhere, but also those can be questionable in legality. That's one of the tricky parts. So, force feedback, we gotta turn down again. Woo-hoo. We'll turn it up to 29% this time. So, yep, 1-to-1, we're good. It's interesting because the feeling of this car almost feels like that Radical RXC GT3 car that's also part of the GT3 Power Pack for rFactor 2. Kind of funny. But it's interesting because in my mind I keep on wanting this car to rev higher and rev higher. But hold on a sec. Let's do this real quick. We'll turn this back on. But it only revs up to about 8K. Or 7,500. So I guess that's something with the LMP3 restrictions, but it's like, oh, I want it to go higher. Maybe you can adjust the rev limiter in the settings, but also then you would risk engine wear. But it's interesting because this version of Montreal was ported over from the original rFactor as well, but still looks good. And with the DX11 effects, it looks better now, which is awesome. So yeah, we were talking about setup stuff earlier. I'll do a quick primer on that too, I think, with this car. So you saw the last straight, we weren't getting the full speed. So we'll look over that again. So we're going through the track. And get an idea on how the car feels through the corners. So does the car feel good through the corners? In my opinion, it is. We have a good neutral handling car. Maybe a little inclined to oversteer, to be honest, if you are driving actually pretty hard. So we have an idea on how the car is feeling. And we are in 5th gear right here, so that's the second longest straight in this track. For this track, I think I'd go more medium downforce, to be honest. Because there are some very tight corners and low speed, but then there are also just these high speed segments. So the downforce as is feels pretty good. So we're in 5th gear, and it's starting to lug a bit. And then 6th gear, we're like flat at 6,500 RPM. So what we need to do is we need to adjust the gearing. Because the car feels good, in my opinion. I like the way the car's feeling. That's interesting sound. That sound I don't think really matches what we are driving. Maybe a bit. Almost sounds like a diesel. So we're going to go into the garage. And we can go, it's general. So we can see the gearing here. And It's not allowing us to adjust the final gear. Okay. That's a little unfortunate. So let's drop it a bit. I'm going to do like 3 clicks each. And we can see how that performs. So you'll notice this car will accelerate faster now. And in some situations, when you change the gearing, that might change the gear you actually take the corner in. But yeah, you can see it's accelerating quicker out of the corners, which we like. So when you shorten the gear ratios, it means you are accelerating faster at the expense of top speed. And then when you make the gear ratios longer, it means you are accelerating slower, but you're gaining more top speed. So before we were staying only in 5th gear there, but we actually hit 6th gear at that straight now. So we're accelerating faster. We overshot the corner. We're flat out. Got a little oversteery there. So we're accelerating. And then 6th gear. We gained 600 RPMs and a few miles an hour because we actually shortened the gearing. So the gearing, I'd say, is a huge factor in why sometimes you are either slower or faster. And the nice thing with gear ratios is you can adjust it for a specific gear. So if in a specific corner you are maybe a little too slow, so say here, if if this was a 3rd gear corner and you feel you're a little slow out of that corner, you could just specifically adjust your 3rd gear ratio so you're specifically accelerating quicker out of that corner, which is awesome. And thanks, Mark, for subscribing. Thank you. So it's interesting. It's a whole can of worms when you're getting into car setup adjustments. And I'm going to actually make a couple more tweaks now. So we are gaining quite a bit more speed. Let's shorten 6th a little more. And maybe 5th as well. And 4th. Actually 3rd too. Actually, no, 3rd is getting a little too close to 2nd. 5th gear. Looks like a bit of a drop-off. There we go. That looks okay. But now I want to take a look at the aerodynamics. So I believe they put it under suspension? No, they don't. It could be under generic. Yeah, here it is. So we have the wings. And then we can, I'm going to turn down the downforce in the rear. Actually, no. First, let's go with this gearing. And I want to take a look and see what speed we actually get on that straight. But you can see, now we're accelerating much quicker, which means we might not have as high top speed, but we'll see. I want to see if we're bumping into the rev limiter on the straight. So this is now a 3rd gear corner. I think we were taking in 2nd before. But we have enough torque. We're getting into the torque band in 3rd in that corner that really helps us accelerate out. Mr. Fonzek, thank you for subscribing. Thank you. So here, we're in 6, and we're gaining decent RPMs. So I want to get a good runoff here. So 5, 4, 3, 2. I still feel this is a second gear corner. Get a good drive off. So we're in 6th gear right now. 65, 7, 8, 9, 7. I completely missed the speed we were going, but yeah. So I'm going to talk, Bloodwolf, about speed or downforce in a minute. This, I want to show this real quick. So we look here, and yeah, Stuart, can you believe that that was in that player's, I think, 3rd ever game? It was either his 3rd or 4th game. Okay, so I want to specifically look at the speed we get right at the end of that long straight. But you can see we are getting faster. We are legitimately getting faster now. So 5, 4, 3, 2. Take the corner. So 225, 30, 35, 40, 50, 252. So about 252. And now what we're going to do is actually make some adjustments. So rear downforce set, I think, to 20 degrees. Let's drop it down to 14. Stuart, it's actually, it's tricky because that was on his, let me think. I think that was his forehand. But you open the stick up and then you flick it and curled the stick around the puck while doing it. All right, I have a little street hockey experience, so I've been able to try that before. Okay, so 252 mile an hour, and we missed the corner there. But so here, what you'll notice is I dropped the rear wing, which means less air is pushing on the back of the car, which means you'll see that I need a little more counter steering. The car is starting to step out a little bit more under turning and also under throttle because there's less air to push on the rear of the car and keep it settled. So here might be a good example. So we're going to take this in 2nd gear. I might oversteer out on the throttle. Yeah, I meant kilometers per hour, my bad. So we're going quickly. So 252, let's see if we beat that. Big time. I think we hit 256, 257 there, and still made the corner this time. So we actually made the corner, gained more speed. So our best lap's 136. Let's see if we can beat that. But you'll notice, yeah, car's a little more lively, it's a little more unsettled. So what I find is that when you reduce the wing on the rear you're more inclined to oversteer, especially on throttle. If you reduce the downforce on the front, you're more inclined to understeer. So that's one thing to take into consideration. You start feeling the car step out a bit, get a little loose. But yeah, this car setup is getting better and better. Right there, you saw the car totally step out there. Remarkable, we're shifting before that bridge now. Yeah, we're a little slower there, I guess. But you can see the way setting up and adjusting the car really makes a difference. It makes a difference in the way the car behaves. It makes a difference in the speed of the car, and really, setup can be personal. It can be subjective. What works for me might not work for you. So you find what your personal preference is in a setup, and you can really capitalize on that and suit it to your driving style and make it fast. Sure, there are some absolutes like the setting up the gearing to maximize your speed, but realistically, what works for you in terms of how the car feels? Do you prefer a car that's more oversteery? If you prefer a car that's more understeery, that is personal preference. But yeah, I'm about to head off too. So, guys, hopefully this brief primer on setup can help you out. And also, I might do a series talking about car setup. So, I think that would be a cool series that you guys might get some enjoyment out of. So, for now, though, it is... Wait. It's almost 2 p.m. I have not eaten lunch. I need to get something to eat. So guys, thanks for watching, and pick up this mod. And if you haven't already, pick up rFactor 2. It's one of the best sims, and it's just getting even better. So guys, pick up rFactor 2 and pick up this mod. It's free. What do you got to lose? So thanks for watching, guys. For the Sim Racing Paddock, I'm William Marsh, and you have a great rest of your day.